Hey everybody, and welcome back to another college video. It's actually crazy how many college videos I've filmed at home. I think I filmed more college related videos at home than I filmed while I was actually at college. But in today's video, I wanted to talk to you about every college student's favorite thing, college tuition. But for those of you who don't know, my college decided to move its course to entirely online. Or well, online for the most part. It's like in person for a few things, but it's pretty much all online. Well, as I mentioned in my last video, my college is still making us pay the same amount of tuition. Now, although I will be saving money by not living on campus and not paying for a dining hall because I'm going to be doing everything from home, I'm still paying the same amount of tuition as I would be paying if I did classes in person, which a lot of students are pretty frustrated with. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how likely it is that colleges will cut the tuition. Is it even practical that they'll cut the tuition? Do I think it'll happen? Stuff like that. But before I get in the video, if you have not already, please consider subscribing. I post college and commentary and lifestyle. I kind of post whatever I feel like posting. That's kind of been the motto of my channel for years now. But if at any point you enjoy the video, please consider subscribing because it doesn't look like that my college is going to decrease tuition. So please help me get enough views so I can get enough AdSense money to pay off all of my student debt. But before we get into everything, let's start about the obvious difference between in-person classes and online classes. I think this goes without saying, but there is a massive difference. In-person classes, you get a real hands-on experience. I took a film production class, and it was crucial for me to do that class in person because my professor would teach us how to edit. She would show us how to use different equipment. On top of that, when I was on campus, we had access to that equipment. We had access to these cameras. We had access to these tripods. Things that a lot of people just don't have lying around at home. I'm an exception because I make these YouTube videos, but most people don't have all this equipment lying around at home. I also took a broadcasting class in person, and it was so crucial to do that in person, to be in the studio, learn how the studio works, learn how to broadcast on camera, do all that stuff in a professional studio. And I think I was really able to learn more about filmmaking and broadcasting by going out in the field and actually doing stuff. I probably learned the most when I was reporting on a basketball game or when I was going out and filming a short film on campus. Those hands-on experiences were where I learned the most. But one of the reasons I decided to go to my school was because of the media-related stuff. It was because I liked how the broadcast studio looked. I liked how the radio station looked. I liked all that stuff. And now I'm not able to work there because I'm stuck here at home. Now this also applies to more traditional classes as well. Last semester I took an anthropology class. When we were on campus, basically the way it would work is that there would be like 100 students. The professor would go up and lecture, we would ask questions, and then at the end of the week we would be given a quiz. But then that class moved online and things were really different. Instead of doing a live lecture, the professor would just leave us with a recorded video lecture that was like an hour and a half, and we would have to watch it and take notes. Which from a learning experience, for whatever reason, is so much different than being there in person. Because when you're there in person, you're engaged with the material, you can ask questions, it's easier to pay attention. But when you're doing it back home and it's playing on your laptop, you kind of get distracted easily. Maybe that's just like a personal thing, but it's very hard for me to concentrate when I'm doing everything online. Also, we were allowed to use our notes during the quiz, so literally the way it would work is that I would just take notes on the lecture, and then I would use those notes as I was taking the quiz and just copy down the answers, which by the way, was allowed, but you're not really learning how to take that material in, and I don't remember any of the stuff I learned in that class, and that class was only a couple months ago. And honestly, in-person classes are just a part of the college experience. When I think of the college experience, I think of sleeping in past your alarm and then rushing to class, being like 5 minutes late. I think about running across campus from one class to the other class to make it in time. I think about stuff like that. When my classes were online last semester, I didn't really feel like I was doing college classes. It just felt like I was taking classes at my house. For whatever reason, and maybe it's hard for me to put into words, you just lose that authentic college experience. Also, another thing about in-person classes is that it's just so much easier to participate. I know this is kind of a small detail, but I noticed it. I remember a professor told me as the semester was starting to end, he was like, "Hey Eric, you're not really participating on our Zoom calls." And I was like, well, the reason I'm not participating is because I don't know when to jump in. When you're in an in-person class, you can raise your hand and the professor will call on you, pretty traditional. But when you're on an online class, you don't really have that luxury and you just kind of jump in whenever. And then whenever I tried to say something, I would always accidentally talk over someone else, and then it would be really awkward. And since I really don't like awkward situations, I would just avoid awkward situations in general, so then I just wouldn't participate in the class. class, which led to a low participation grade, so that probably hurt me in the long run. Now, my school is reopening places like the student center, the gyms, the libraries, etc. They just recently released an outline on how campus was going to look, and keep in mind, this came out a couple hours after I released a video complaining about how we still weren't given an outline, so I'm not taking credit for them doing that, but also I'm taking credit for that. I think I influenced that decision 100%. Now, although they are reopening these places are going to look different. Like the gyms, you have to reserve a spot ahead of time. The dining halls are going to be grab and go. Certain places are going to have limited hours, so things aren't going to be exactly the same. Now, I would hope that since I'm taking my classes online, I would hope that my tuition doesn't reflect what's going on campus because I'm not there. Now, I don't know how the tuition's broken down, but I would hope it doesn't account for that stuff because right now I'm not able to use that stuff, and it doesn't seem fair to me that I have to pay for stuff that I'm not going to be able to use because I'm taking my classes from home. Now, in conclusion, with that whole spiel, online education is not the same as in-person education. It just isn't. So I think with all that being said, I think we should probably get a decrease in tuition because the learning experience is radically different, but I don't think students are asking for some radical 50% decrease. I think they're just asking for a bit. I don't know what that ideal number is. I don't know what students exactly want, but I know they just want a change in tuition. So that being said, I would like to see a tuition decrease, but I don't necessarily think we will see one. The first reason that I'm sure my college and other colleges across the country aren't going to cut tuition is because I'm sure they're already losing a lot of money. Not only are they losing money now, but they're set to probably lose a lot of money in the fall. Where we are right now, we probably won't see fall sports, which for some schools is a big generator of revenue, especially if you go to a football school which seats like 100,000 people in their stadiums and that's all people care about. When you cut that out of the picture, no football, that school is going to lose a lot of money. At my school and other schools around the country, students are opting out of living on campus. And because they're opting out of living on campus, or they're just dropping out of enrollment in general, the school is going to lose money from that as well. I saw an article in the New York Times which said that 100 faculty members at the University of Akron were laid off. To put that into perspective, that was 1/5 of the unionized workforce at Akron. The article also goes on to say that UT at San Antonio laid off nearly 70 instructors, and Ohio University has had 3 rounds of layoffs. And as I mentioned earlier, students declining to enroll is probably going to just make this whole thing a lot worse. As some institutions suffered losses of $100 million or more in the spring, they had put construction projects on hold and froze wage increases. The fall could be even worse, with a higher education trade group predicting a 15% drop in enrollment nationwide, amounting to $23 billion in lost revenue. So even though my school isn't the cheapest school in the world and a lot of students are paying a lot of money to go there, I still think my school is probably being hit by this pretty hard. Now, I don't know my school's financial situation. I don't have the numbers laid out in front of me. That would be cool if I did, but I don't. My worry is that if they cut tuition, they'll have to cut professors as well, or they will have to cut professors' pay. And that's the last thing I want. I don't want anyone's pay interfered with. I don't want professors to lose their job. I don't want that. So I don't know if this is something that they literally can't afford, or that they can afford to do it. They just don't want to because it will result in them losing more money. There's a difference between being able to do something and not being able to do something. And I would imagine, again, this is speculation, I would imagine my school is able to do that, but they probably don't want to because they'll lose a lot of money if they do. An article in Forbes stated that University of Arizona is projecting to lose $250 million from the pandemic. University of Michigan estimates losses from $400 million to $1 billion. Syracuse University has already lost $35 million in unexpected expenses. So with all that being said, do I think that my college is going to decrease tuition? Sadly, probably not. Do I think they should? Yeah, I do. I mean, I think there's a clear difference between in-person and online classes, and I think we deserve at least a little bit of a cut. But also, if I'm looking at this objectively, I don't really see it happening. I hope I'm wrong, and I know that's a cop-out, but I really hope I'm wrong. Now, ideally, they'd be able to cut the tuition and still be able to pay professors the same amount of money. That's in an ideal world. I don't know how practical that is. So who really knows at this point? There's new developments in this thing every single day, which is great for me because I've been making a lot of videos off it, and I enjoy these videos, and it seems like you people enjoy them as well, which is awesome. But what do you think? Should colleges cut tuition? Do you think they will cut tuition? And what is your college doing? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, and if you have not already, consider subscribing because I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers so I can drop out of college so I don't have to pay this tuition anymore. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.
Eric Warren, the golden child, we going up. How many subscribers, but enough, never enough. We can show you how to stunt, climb the ladder, so my vision to the heaven up above. Let me show you how to stack when, I'm talking way back when. Flip the script and take the hate with a grain of sand.